I'm Jack Lowe, a PhD student in Geography and Media Arts at Royal Holloway. In this video, I'm going to discuss what I've found from my research examining how people engage with place through location-based games. Location-based games are games that incorporate the player's physical location or actions into the gameplay via a networked interface, which might be a smartphone, website, or GPS receiver. Most popular and recognizable location-based games today are smartphone apps like Pokemon Go, but location-based games have a longer history of more experimental projects designed for specific places. My research focused on the latter through an autoethnographic study into their development and play. This involved participating in and documenting the process of designing such games myself in East Kent in the UK. I then also used ethnographic observation, interviews, feedback forms and focus groups to look into the experiences of those I collaborated with and those who played my games. Overall, I identified 3 key ways that the development and play of location-based games engages with place. The first is that location-based games interface the diverse elements that gather in places. I found that the arrangement of these games' components, their digital platforms, the game content, and the physical game areas, shapes what aspects of this diversity players can access and what they pay attention to most as they navigate places. While in many commercial games the main goal is to produce profit from players' actions, my research shows how navigation in location-based games can be designed to draw critical attention to the relations that shape how things gather in places. For example, allowing players to imagine or express their own stories of place can help them to identify the range of things that coexist in places and why their shared presence is culturally important. The second key way that location-based games engage with place is how designers and players negotiate what Doreen Massey called the thrown togetherness of place, the spontaneous ways that things interact. You might think that this unpredictability of physical places is a problem for location-based games. How can you ensure that the play experience is interesting or meaningful if so many factors are out of the designer's control? But actually, what I found is that designers want to balance the more fixed aspects of the gameplay with the flows of people and objects in places and the often surprising ways they interact. Making compelling gameplay possible involves fine-tuning combinations of expected and unexpected outcomes. In location-based games, the unexpected aspects of everyday life in physical settings are actively managed and at times deliberately drawn upon to provoke interesting ways of engaging with places. Furthermore, the way that players end up adjusting their normal behaviour when playing the games can make them newly aware of the processes that shape how everyday interactions unfold in places. The third key way that location-based games affect how people engage with place is in the impressions of place that players are left with. What I found is that location-based gameplay tends to lead to more complex, dynamic impressions of place that don't tell a simple, neat story. Designers can arrange content in ways that attempt to provoke particular feelings or tell particular stories of place. But players of location-based games have so many options as to how they interact with the game environment. They navigate using unique combinations of what they sense in their surroundings, their own ideas and interpretations, and their interactions with other people. For this reason, designers often provide opportunities for players to personalize their play experiences. They don't try to tell players what something means, but allow them to find their own connections between the things they encounter when playing. In the end, their senses of place are accumulations of encounters and interpretations that assemble together. Players find their way through the mediated game environment by drawing together many different paths and perspectives. Altogether, what my research contributes to current work in geography is an understanding of how interrelationships between navigation and narrative are central to the ways people engage with place today, at a time when digital and located media are pervasive. How you encounter and interpret information to move through and make sense of an environment is closely related to how you perceive the story of it as a place. And I argue that the design of location-based games deliberately taps into these interrelationships through the three ways I've highlighted to evoke interesting and meaningful experiences.